Hello and welcome to Making Sense of the Census in the City. I'm Momin Bhatti, Communications Manager for the City of Harrisburg, and with me I have Jeffrey Knight, Planning Director for the city. And we're here to just really talk about a census, what it is and why it's important.
In America, we all count, no matter where we call home, how we worship, or who we love. And the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Because this is the count that informs where hundreds of billions in funding will go each year for things like education, healthcare, and programs that touch us all. Complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. Shape your future. Start here at 2020census.gov.
Well, thank you for inviting me to the podcast to speak about the census. It is very important, not only for the city, but really for our country. It's a snapshot in time of the country, our demographics, our socioeconomics, our well-rounded picture of who we are as a country, and kind of over time, as you look at the trend lines, where we're going as a country as well. So, I think the most important thing to stress about the census is that it's constitutional. It is in the Constitution. The first census was 1790. The Constitution provides that every 10 years there will be a count of the public, and of course, as our economy and as our world and as our society has changed, our census has changed too, beyond just a simple raise of your hand to say I am here and this is my address, I reside in this county or state or city. We now calculate other information or other data from the information that is provided in the census, and this information is equally as important to getting a snapshot of who we are, as opposed to just our numbers.
Beginning in March, the U.S. Census Bureau will invite households across the country to participate in the 2020 census. But what is the census? Simply put, the census is a head count of every person living in the United States. To be sure the government represents the people, the U.S. Constitution requires a population count every 10 years. Ever since 1790, the census has determined the number of seats each state receives in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is, and always has been, a cornerstone of our democracy. We still use it to determine representation, but leaders also use the data to make decisions. Your response helps guide planning for the future of our communities. The 2020 census will help inform decisions on how billions of dollars are allocated annually for critical public services like roads, schools, hospitals and healthcare clinics, fire and emergency response services, and hundreds of other programs. In 2020, for the first time, you'll be able to complete the census online, by phone, or by mail. It asks a few simple questions, like how many people live in your home on April 1st, including their age and sex, and if there are any children living there. You should know that by law, all census responses are completely confidential, and your personal information cannot be shared with any law enforcement agencies. Every person counts, no matter who you are or where you live. So whether your family has participated for decades or the 2020 census will be your first, we all have a role in shaping the future of our country.
When it comes down to actual numbers in terms of finances, the Census Bureau has estimated that every person is essentially worth, for lack of a better word, $2,200 in federal funding per year. So that means every person in the city that is not counted towards the census is $2,200 that we won't be getting in a given year, and over the 10-year time span that the census figures represent, that's $22,000 a person.
$22,000.
$22,000 per person over that decade, and that's money that goes towards fixing homes for low-income families or seniors. That's money that goes towards lead abatement for the individuals in our community that want to establish child care centers, for example. That's money that comes from the community development block grants that go to pay for public safety initiatives, public infrastructure like sidewalks or road repairs. So all of this money, it can seem, very far away. It's coming from the federal government. It's money down the line 5-10 years from now, but it's very real money, and it's money that, especially a place like the city of Harrisburg, needs to meet many of the expectations of the public that we serve, and to meet many of our deferred maintenance needs.
So when you mentioned $22,000, that's a very shocking number. It's a huge number. Maybe there are some people out there that are watching or listening and thinking, I'm just one person. What can I do? Can that one person really make a difference?
The answer to that is yes, and really there are two ways in which that happens. One is, as you said, that $22,000, even $2,200 a year that we might get, that can go to repair somebody's roof, your neighbor's roof maybe, that can't otherwise afford that and has a leak, or, weatherizing their house to ensure that their heating bills aren't so expensive in the winter, or their cooling bills aren't so expensive in the summer. But beyond that, the city of Harrisburg is actually right at a critical threshold population-wise. We have I think as of the last census, we had 49,520 individuals. So we are right below that 50,000 population threshold. And why that's important is because that moves us into another category, another classification of municipalities that the various levels of government use to dictate how much funding we will get, or to dictate what kinds of pots of money we are eligible for. As having a population of 50,000 will push us into another category that maybe opens up more revenue streams, more potential grants we can apply for, and obviously all of those things will help move the city forward and address the needs of our community. But in addition, every person that signs up is kind of an indication that the city is growing. And after years, decades, since about the 1950s, the city's population has been trending downward. And between the 2000 and the 2010 census, it definitely leveled off, and I think what we're expecting now is there to be beginning to be an uptick. And again, that's kind of an illustration of the turnaround that the city has made in going into Act 47 and now coming out of Act 47.
So every person matters. No one should avoid this if you're in the city or anywhere in America. This is a nationwide thing, right?
That is correct. That is correct. And the Census the Census Bureau works very diligently to ensure that they get an accurate count. In addition to the public notifications that have been going out to encourage people to participate in the census, we also have over the past year or so, the census has been sending out employees to confirm the location of units, to confirm, that there is a new building, for example, that didn't show up on our last census, that may have tenants in it, and they've actually, for the first time ever, instituted an online census application. So for the first time ever, you don't even have to address something through the mail or through speaking with somebody in person. You can actually go to the census instead of having the census come to you.
According to her daughter, she spends too much time on the internet. According to the census, she just needs a few minutes more. The census is now online. And by answering a few simple questions, you'll help inform where public funding will get distributed for things like Medicare, community centers, public transit, and more. Then you can get back to whatever you were doing in no time at all. Shape your future. Start here. Complete the census at 2020census.gov.
The website will be rolled out in a few weeks in advance of April 1st, which is the official census date. And then afterwards, the census employees will be going out around the community to places where they say, all right, we identified maybe 4 units in this building. We only heard from a single person. Let's go see if there's somebody in there who wasn't able to get out of their house or didn't know about the census, and make sure that we can get an accurate count of those people. So they'll be doing follow-up. You'll be hearing a continual stream up to and after April 1st to ensure that we get as accurate a count as possible for the city of Harrisburg.
So when people think census, they usually think somebody's coming to their door, but you're saying that there's other ways.
Yes,
But those ways have to be done before April 1st, then, right?
No, I don't believe they have to be done before April 1st. I believe you're able to go to the website, and if you go to www.census.gov, it will have all of their timelines and time frames during which the census can be filled out online, and it's not just leading up to April 1st.
Again, that's census.gov is the website. A lot of great information there, and facts and figures and the history of the census, why it's important. So, a lot more detail there. Let's talk about what can people expect. Maybe there are people that don't want to open their door to a stranger, and like, who's this coming? Is it a salesman? Who is this person? Are they going to be dressed a certain way, and like how much time? We're just talking about maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean it's very short, and they'll be identified as census workers, and they will have to identify themselves. They will identify themselves as a census worker to let you know. Yeah, you're not talking to a salesman or somebody looking to canvass for maybe one of the local elections or something like that. It will be somebody to speak to you about the census, and it will just be a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, just a few minutes, and it makes a huge difference in the community.
It is. Again, we are very close to that 50,000 population threshold, and it'd be great for the city to hit that number. We feel that we have been growing, and we do expect that we will hit that number, but again, it depends on ensuring that we get a completely accurate count of the residents of the city of Harrisburg.
Yeah, it's no wonder why this is mandatory. Maybe some people might be thinking that why is this such a required part of something that happens every 10 years, and this is why. It's a big deal, and it means a lot. It creates a lot of impact. It's a lot of important data that is used for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and again, if you think about it, when the government's got its however much money it gives out in any given year through whatever program, how is it going to allocate that money? It is going to allocate that money based on where the most people live, so it can have the most benefit, and also to where the need is the greatest, and that is average household income, people on supplemental nutrition, stuff like that. So that's why having as complete a picture as possible of communities helps us and helps the government identify where that need is greatest.
For those that may not be English speaking, is there a way that they can participate also?
Yes, the census website, it has a translation button on it. So you're able to access all of that information in a variety of languages. We obviously here in the city have a number of different languages spoken. We have pockets of immigrant communities from all over the world, a large Hispanic-speaking population, and so the census is available to everybody, no matter what language you speak.
Welcome to Be a Census Taker 2020 Census Jobs. My name is Joni Crestwell, and I'm with the U.S. Census Bureau. For the next couple of minutes, we'll tell you about a typical day for census jobs in the field.
Census field staff might start their day planning their work assignments in the area they'll cover. The Census Bureau strives to hire census takers to work in their own communities because, after all, they know their area best. Some 2020 census takers go door to door, updating address lists and maps using a mobile device such as a laptop or a smartphone to ensure the addresses on the ground are reflected in the Census Bureau's list. Other census takers will knock on doors and interview at households to collect census data. Census takers work directly with the public, explaining the benefits of participating in the 2020 census to people in their community. They gather the data essential to complete the census count. As mentioned, the Census Bureau strives to hire census takers to work in their own communities and provides the necessary training to do the work.
Be a part of this historic event. Join the 2020 Census team. Applying online is easy. Visit 2020census.gov/jobs and click the Apply Now button. If you'd like to learn more before you apply, please watch additional videos in this series. Thanks again.
What are you most excited about from the perspective of the planning department?
Well, you know, I've been with this city since a little bit after the last census. It's been about a little over 7 years now. And so, you know, that whole time I've been working with 2010 census data. There's American Community Survey data as well that is in the intervening years, but those are all based on estimates. And so this will be the first census that I've been around for working with the city, and having that comprehensive data, having those statistics, knowing, you know, exactly who we are as a point in time, will really help us going forward. It will let us know, okay, do we need to build more multifamily housing in the city? Do we need to just build more housing overall? Do we need to find opportunities for business development throughout the city? You know, all of that data is so great to have because it will be as accurate as possible after this census. And so, you know, it'll be really exciting to see what that data shows and to figure out how we can utilize that to improve the city going forward.
All right. Great. Thanks again for your time, Jeffrey. Remember, folks, April 1st, 2020 is the Census Day, and more information can be found at census.gov.